this. Come on, the last one. I think so.
It was on Saturday, I believe.
Yeah, they are all from Saturday. Ah, it's the one I sent and not received. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yes, here you go. So, like Dynacal, yeah. So this one is something. Normally you do the DLL call. So if you just do the simple one message box, do the W, do the simple one.
The semicolon there, that's an error, right?
Thank you. Okay, text test. With DLL call, you create like a callable function. So with Dynacall, Dynacall is nearly the same, but instead of defining the or giving the parameters, you do a predefinition. So you say what it returns, and then you say it's uint, it's a string, and uint, yeah, and then it's created. So this is my message box. I just do this, and it doesn't do anything yet, but you can call it. So message box W. I think it's V1. You can do it like this, or you do by percentages, or as an object. So this will work as well. And you say 0 test text 0, and you can yeah, this is the one, yeah, and you can omit parameters. This is good thing. So you don't need to give all the parameters, and you can even change the parameters. So the order of parameters. And also you can predefine parameters. So you can put them before. And when you call it, you don't pass any parameters. The default parameters will be used. So it makes it a lot easier to use the Windows functions. And this all is kind of packed into this Win API, where you have a lot of functions pre-created for you, and you don't need to use the DLL call. So if we have a look on Win API, this is something we will for sure cover. And these are all the Windows functions. Also the message box will be here. Here's the message box. It explains what the parameters are and how it's defined in AutoHotkey, but you don't need all this to be able to use them. So even without all this stuff here, if I would have done this, because it's already pre-created for me, 0, it's not like this, it's a normal function. Here we include, I did it a bit different in the AutoHotkey source code. So it's like a real function.
Cool.
And we are now simply calling the DLL call, but very easily. It's all defined here if you want to know what you do. One thing I did differently is the pointer handling. So as you know, you can do int p or a star. If you want to say this is a pointer, this is not possible here. So you have to pass the pointer of variable using getVar, another function we will cover, and then the variable. And if it needs to be a number, you have to pre-fill it. And there are some handlings you need to do. It's about a few functions, but the most of them are really as simple as this to use. So if you don't do it here, you will see there is empty. Or just do nothing. It will be like this. think the first one is the window, and the last one is the definition of buttons. And it's a lot easier to use this rather than DLL code. I think this is one of the biggest problems for the normal user to use this. And I really invested a lot of time to create this stuff to make it easier for me as well.
And just to make sure I'm following, I mean, I understood how you were referencing it, but clearly in AutoHotkey, I can just make a message box. But the point is, you have all these other things, right, that aren't in AutoHotkey. Is that right? Okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Which I definitely see. Jackie has helped walk me through DLL calls before, too, and looking them up on MSDN and looking at all the parameters, and I get lost. So, yeah, I can definitely see how that would be helpful.
So things like lot library, you can simply use it as a function. You don't need to do a DLL call. It's much easier, and it has all the right parameters. You don't do the error, which you do normally, that you return the wrong parameter. Here's the list of DLLs which included, and like user DLL with all the standard things. And you can look them all up on Windows, what they do. So probably they again changed the path. I like this. They always do it. So it then needs to be looked up manually. I know this one works. Not all of them changed. And here you can read about it more. Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. And right, and just go quickly through all the stuff we have. So the Win API we covered, and zip functions. Have a look if I have some examples on my zip. There are a few functions to work with, so like create file and add folder and so on. Let's do the simple one. Create. Yeah, I've done here. Simple example. It also works. So we create the file, test zip, then we add a file, which is ctemp test hk, and then we close the file. All right. This is probably something for V2 only. Yeah, well, probably I didn't do it in V1. No? I think I did it. What is it saying? It can't create file. Can't open. That's odd. Test. Not letting us. Okay. For some reason, doesn't let us to write in the C folder directly. So in the main.
The permissions, yeah.
Yeah. It only allows you to do it in a folder.
I've run into that a lot.
Yeah. So here we are, the file created, and to unzip it's unzip. Yeah, it's very simple. This one does all it automatically, so in one run, you don't need to open and so on. So if we do it, temp test. It's bad for my examples doing this because this doesn't work. So here we are.
Cool.
So I should include the temp in my example. Yeah.
Right.
So it's very easily, and there is some with unzip RAW memory and zip RAW memory, which simply does some memory into zip format, which is not normally, you can't write it to disk and open it with normal zip handler. You will need to open it with AutoHotkey. and it's just to save some data. So, for example, the object which will go on, the next one, object dom and object load, use it. They compress the simple buffer into memory to make it shorter. So this one, I don't know if you read on AutoHotkey about the object dom and object load.
I'm sure I read it exactly. Yeah, and yeah. Initially when I read it, but that was a long time ago.
So don't delete. So the one is to put it into file, and the other one in variable, and you receive the size of it. So here we have the size and the object. Let's say 3. Nope. Come on, slow. Then the variable, and then object is object load variable. From the file or the path, and when we use the path, we need the size, know the length. Okay.
Yep.
So it simply can dump an object, and you can also write it to file and load it later. So, and it's using the zip compression, which is quite good. So also you can send the object through send message or different ways to share it somewhere to another process or whatever.
What, and this is where, like I said, I'm not a programmer, right? But you're talking about compression, but you're talking about memory, right? At least, and so does it actually take up less room in the memory? You're not talking about a hard drive space, right? Okay, thank you. I'd never didn't know that was a thing.
Memory in hard drive, yeah. Like the zip file is using less on the hard drive. It's the same here.
Right.
But it does it with the object, so after this you have a compressed file with your object. This is usually what I use to save settings and all the data what you use in a file, so like a database, which you just load very quickly.
Actually, I was going to ask you, so I'm going to guess you actually are a programmer in work?
Yes, no, at work not, but it's like a hobby for me to program.
Yeah.
And AutoHotkey is the reason why I'm programming.
Really? That's amazing.
I do it, yeah.
That's
just incredible when I found this tool the first time. It was something I was looking for a long time, yeah.
That's amazing. That's so impressive. I know, Jackie, like I said, I fake it. I tell people I don't know what I'm doing. And they keep saying, no, Joe, we see you. I'm like, trust me, I know I don't know what I'm doing, right? And then because I see people like you guys, and I'm like, damn, that's awesome.
Thanks, yeah.
Yeah, I know AutoHotkey and only read source code from other stuff. And of course, source code kind of starts to make sense the more you read it. Doesn't really matter what language it is, but I can't read, I can't write in anything else but AutoHotkey for real.
Yeah, but I mean, AutoHotkey is very C++-like, but C++ there really is a lot of setup about it, yeah. When you start from nothing, it's really difficult to get started. Because you have to have all this standard stuff with the program, how the program works. It's before you start even about your program, you will spend a lot of time to create the program to make it runnable at all.
Yeah.
And then from then you start only your script, and that's the biggest issue I think with C++. AutoHotkey, you simply run the stuff you want to happen straight away.
Yeah. It makes it very simple, at least, because the power that I get from AutoHotkey is probably at the level that I need it. I don't need to really do anything much deeper than what AutoHotkey goes. So yeah, but with seeing how easy it is to use, like del call and stuff with H, it is really interesting to see that you can make that stuff even simpler.
Right.
That's a great addition.
It actually, because as I said, Jackie's shown me DLL calls, this and that, and we'll use simple examples. But I've stayed away from using them because they were so complex that I'm like, it's just not worth my effort. But just by looking at what you did, now I'm going to go back and study what's in that Win API and see what's actually in there, right? Because suddenly I'm like, hey, I can do this and not beat my head against a wall because it's not that hard. That's awesome.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, that's something I also, to understand the pointers and all this stuff about it, it's really a lot. And in the end, it's just a simple function call. So why not easier? And it could be easy. It was just a definition of all these functions, which is missing. So you need to have the definitions, and that's why you need DLL code, because everybody can create functions, but the MSDN stuff is kind of standard, and it's available for a long time. So I put it all into WinAPI. Yeah.
Sorry, I was talking to Joe DF this morning, and Ian, it dawned on me, I'm like, maybe what we should do for one webinar topic is how to read MSDN's documentation, right? Because it's, for people like me, I go to it and I have such a hard time following it. I think if someone helped, like, explain how it works, it'd be a good topic to teach people, because people will say, go read the MSDN. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, it's not that easy. So even if you, so first you start with all the variable types, need to know, This is something you need to start with, because otherwise you can't use the function. And in the end, you need to understand what's inside, which is not always very explained, as you can see here. So it says for the list of values, see here. And very often you don't see these numbers,
Yeah, and that's a problem for AutoHotkey.
Exactly, yeah. And you go back and forth, looking and finding and searching, and this is what takes time, yeah. And you still need to know these numbers. Mostly you find them in examples and so, like here, which class to use, yeah. You don't know it, you have to look, and you have to be patient, and you have to spend some time to find it, yeah. But luckily you have AutoHotkey. You can look what AutoHotkey does, and it's also something you need to know when you work with, but it's very difficult, is the these numbers, how they work in computer. It's because of A. So here is what AutoHotkey does, and you can look up the values, see what they are. And it creates the window into new type, and gives the default values to the positions, and makes the instance which is meaning which program owns it. And it's rather quite simple, but for this stuff here with these numbers, it's not here, but normally you have multiple of them. So have a look if this is multiple. No, this is the main, and the tool window is just a number. So they can be combined, these numbers. In AutoHotkey we do it like, so if we do the message box, and simply 1, 2,
right,
and 3, but it's a bit different. And you see you get 3. You wouldn't understand why you get 3. And they normally this special handling, which is really took me ages to understand, and it's still not that simple to understand it. You can then extract. You have a number, and you can extract which properties this number has. Like here, when you put these two together, and check this one and the 40, for example, you get 192. And from this out, you can read that this is 80 and 40. And this is something when you look into examples, you need to know, because otherwise you can't modify it or you can't exclude properties. And this is the difficult part about MSDN as well. All these parameters which are defined somewhere.
Yeah, you can easily end up not finding it, or I can at least. I've ended up sometimes down somewhere, and yeah, you might even need to go into some kind of structure and.
Exactly. Yeah, this is the structures is kind of the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Many of them are not defined or not explained, and very difficult. Yeah.
Wasn't structures on your list for the webinar? Or
correct.
Something?
Yeah.
What and
it's like,
understand topically?
You see there are quite a few stuff here which is already quite more just a standard user, and the same is with structures as well. All of this multi-threading and objects zipping, but if we go through it, I mean, most probably won't understand or won't be interested, whatever, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
You know, I mean, and Jackie and I, you know, we want to get more people like using AutoHotkey and absolutely AutoHotkey H, right? So, but I think we all agree a lot of this might be too deep for the average user. What we could do is plan, you know, whether we do it now or some other time, just a call like this where we pick a topic, talk through it, record it, and that way it's available for people, whoever is interested, right? They can watch it at their convenience. And that, because I know for me, being able to watch a video where people are talking about it like this and explaining things, as opposed to trying even a good post, right? It's so hard. It's just kind of abstract and you're reading it, but you don't get inflection. Like you don't have someone like me asking, you know so much of it already, right? So you assume we'll know it, but I'm like, well, let me back up a step here. What in the world is like this going on to make sure I understand it, right? You need someone who doesn't know what they're doing to ask questions during it.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we can figure that out.
So the it's like memory load library. It's very simple. Yeah, if you read about the load library in here, it doesn't do anything different, and there are just a memory. It loads the DLL file into memory and lets you use it. It initializes everything, so it's like starting an exe file, but inside the process. To explain it very simply.
Is that just for speed then? Why would you do that?
The memory one is to read it from memory. So when you run the HK thread, then it's loading the file from memory. So you don't need to give always the DLL with it. And another reason is to be able to load multiple DLLs, because this is something that's not possible in Windows.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Whenever you load library, you just get a reference to the one you already loaded, and it's the only one you keep. And to use multithreading, you would need to copy the DLL file to multiple names and call them differently, and then you could load them separate and do multithreading. Here with memory load library, we don't need to do it. It's done automatically. Every time you use memory load library, it's loading a new one, and you have a fresh thread.
Interesting.
And that's the only reason I did it, so to avoid having to copy the file to multiple names.
Cool.
So we don't need to cover this much, it's just to explain what it is, and we can have a look on the memory library. It's a bit different, the one I have. Oops, it's not like mine is coming up first. That's the second. So here is where I got it from, and it's there for ages. I think it's very old, but still works and got a bit better over time.
When did you start working on H?
I think it was 2004 roundabout, 5, 6 probably even.
Wow.
When the no, so let me think. It's probably even later, yeah. When the DLL was created, so it wasn't myself who created it. It was Naveen Garg. So if I look if it is on my list, I think.
Hey, look, I'm there.
Hey, you are.
I saw Maestria and Jody F. Geek Dude. Nice.
Where is he? He was on my list, I think. Was written like this. Yeah, Cinco99. He is the one who created it in the first. So he created the DLL and all the start of it, the functions where it all started. And if you look in his commits, the old one, it's probably, yeah, it's 2014. Unbelievable, it's so long ago. It's even earlier. No, it's, sorry, the 14 is 2000 something. 14, 2005 or 2006, I think. Yeah, here it was 2009, so, but it's already where I taken part.
Is he still active in the community? I don't recognize the name.
I don't think I've seen him. He was on the old one.
Oh.
But he's like something with Doctor or so. So he's not the AutoHotkey normal user. So it must have been 2008, 2009, yeah. I think so.
It seems like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably it's even on my page where it's longer the history. At least what I was working on.
I'm curious, without doing any coding, but just help me think. Jackie and I, before you joined, we were just talking about multi-threading in general. And when I used to do stuff with Python, I was playing with it with web scraping was the example I used, multi-threading to go do something. But can you give us an example or one or two examples of like why we would use multi-threading in just an average program? Well, like what, you know, a scenario where it's helpful?
I think the simplest one would be to have a GUI where you can interact and the threads doing something for you. So, for example, that's a very good case where you have something which runs longer, and the GUI could be still working, and you can click around it and do all this stuff. So if you do a simple one, if I remember, it's all.
And that's where, because I know using a set timer, but I've read set timer isn't really multi-threading, right? It's
jumping to somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And this truly is, they're both running at the same time.
Correct.
Okay.
So you can see it on processors, or when you do the one we had here. No, it wasn't critical object. This example. And when we look on the processors, you can see it's 100%. And the threads. So all processors are working. If you would have 8 processors, you would see that only, so here are only 2 processors, but be enough 2 threads. And this is one point. So if you want to make something faster, you can share the work so to the threads and they do it for you, or to keep a window responsive, or do some database stuff. That's what I did. So you can the database stuff runs quite long. When you, for example, import a file into the database, you can run it as a separate script, a separate thread, and continue working, or do multiple files at the same time.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So it's not different to running multiple processes. It's just the same, but in one process to make it more clear and more compact, and all in one. So when you share to somebody, it's just one file instead of multiple.
Cool. Thank you.
It's only when you start using it, like, you know, this AutoHot file I wrote, it's still not updated, but it uses a lot of this stuff as well. So for example, when I now go to my C drive and do some searching, normally on a loop you would notice it starts searching and it's blocked. You can't do anything. And when I now here start searching, let's do something. And look, okay, it's quite quick. The new computers are quite quick these days.
Yeah.
Let's do something which can't be found. It will take longer. So normally it's like stopped. You can't do anything, but I can still do something because I can kill my thread and continue working. So normally the program will stop. Whatever makes the AutoHotkey stop, I don't know if you face it already when you're opening a file, whatever, and it hangs.
Yes. I was going to ask if this was, because that was one that popped in my head. That's the only one when we want to go download a file or do something, right? And I know Jackie helped me. I was beating my head against a wall when I first ran into that, going, I'm like, I don't understand like why this does this, but yeah, that's cool. It would take care of it.
So if you write in a program, you can handle this, and you can check the thread if it's busy or not, and you can decide the users cancel it or continue waiting. For AutoHotkey, when it gets to this point, it just stops. You can't do anything. You can kill it, and that's it. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, then let's have a look more what we have here. Yeah, the AutoHotkey DLL is just the one we had, so with some additional stuff. When we load the thread, so make it simple. Check. So we load a simple HK, and then we can start the new script. There are two functions, the HKDLL, which loads from file, or text DLL, which loads from string. So like this, and we have the thread, right? Now when we have want to share something with the thread or read from it, so we put variable and make it persistent so it doesn't end. And we now want to know the variable. Okay.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, and you get the values from it. Check if my computer battery is much. Okay, still enough.
Talk quickly, yeah.
Yeah. So then you can do a function there. You can also write it in more easy so people can read it.
Yeah.
Check. Like this. So fun and give it test, and instead here we do the parameter fun enter and call the function. I need to stop. So, okay. We did call the function inside the thread. And so look here. I list the functions over. I the split. So here created thread, which is also the HK thread and HK exported, which is doing the same for the exe. So you can also do this from the DLL to exe, like reading the variables and running the functions and so on. Here is the assigning a value or getting a value, get the label or call the label, call the function or post function, which will do in background, so you can continue working. Then you can also add some code or from file and execute it directly. So here we can tell HK exec and say show me the variable. And it's inside the function it shows you. So it runs the code directly. You can also add code, add script, and we say execute it directly, and it will end up in the. So this will be created like here below this code, and you can add new functions, for example. So let's have a look. If you say here fun1, okay. Let me check what the variables are. Add script. Add but don't execute. We make it 0 and just exclude it. Now the function will be added to the running script, and we can call it you see? So you can dynamically add scripts or some stuff. So for example, a very good use case is the right. So if we do this just for the beginning, I just exclude this and expected watch this one. The hot string. Okay. And you have, for example, a GUI. We can edit even, make a small one. So if you start this here, list. It's long ago when I wrote this all. List view or what? Yeah. I think it's like this. Well, let's make it simple because we make just a simple edit and a button. like this. Okay, so button will simply add our hot string. The variable here, string, and right. So long ago I used v1. Just don't really remember all of the stuff. And okay, so we have the HK. Okay, now we want to have something else. BB BDD tick tick. And then we just simply add. And now BT tick.
Wow.
And this is something you can.
And that's just stored in memory, right? It's not.
Correct. Yeah, so you don't restart anything. It just added to the script here underneath. Yeah.
Neat.
This is like a use case where this is really handy, so you don't need to end and create the program again and run it. And this is something you can save in the ini file. So you have all your things included, and here you can like update the ini file and and you can also keep the list. You can't delete them, but for delete you have to restart it. Yeah. Okay. So this is not as impossible. Okay, then you have a pause. You can simply pause your thread. You can check if it's ready to execute. Now you can reload or terminate it. And there are some low-level functions where you can get deeper information about the functions and stuff. You can go a little bit through in the structures. Okay, then the multithreading we already seen a little bit. So there is also the COM object create stuff, which is to be able to use AutoHotkey from somewhere else. The COM interface. So you need to register it. Not sure if I've read it here. No. Doesn't seem so, but you can Google it, register DLL. And that's very simple, just to put rec32 and the DLL name. Just need to have the path right. So if we deregister the AutoHotkey DLL, then we need to give it the path. So this one is on the DLL.
So I've done this a couple times where I've had errors and that, but I don't understand what it's actually doing. Is it's making that DLL available to Windows?
Yeah, just write this information where it sits. So then the system knows when you are loading this string, then it knows what to load.
Registering that, okay.
And it's the name as well. So now you can simply do the COM object create.
Oh, okay.
And it knows what to do.
Yeah, all right.
And you can do it from anywhere, so from VB's code or C++, whatever. Yeah. can be used anyway. So if I do this AHK and AHK, oops, my script is still running.
Yeah,
There are more. Okay, so AHK and strike the same. Didn't find it. Should anyway pick up because it's all the same. I think you need to run it as an administrator.
wow.
Is this one still up? This one should be. Looks like stopped. So then we need to do it from here. Do it as administrator.
And that's a one-time thing, right? Once you've registered those, it sticks.
Correct, yeah.
Is it just writing something into the registry?
Yeah, correct.
So couldn't we just use a patch to the registry to do it?
Normally it should be possible, yeah.
Well, it's okay. We don't have to. I was just curious.
Yeah,
Oh.
should be possible. I wonder why this is not picking up. That's odd. The key works, but the name not. So somehow it didn't really. That's odd. I haven't used it quite long, so it was working on XP. That's so long ago. Now it works. What the fuck? Okay, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Some reason it didn't work. Oh, this one didn't work. But I did the right one, so that's odd. But the script is working, but you have to be administrator to be able to edit. And then you can use it from VB code and anywhere else.
Cool.
Right, so this we have. Yeah, the creating thread we had already. We can do post threads simply. You checking?
Yeah, it's. I'm actually digging watching all of this, but I still have a single chore I need to get done before I actually head to bed. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess tomorrow's not a holiday for you guys. It's a holiday in the States.
Oh, really?
No, for me not.
It didn't dawn on me until I'm like, yeah, you don't have Labor Day. I'm guessing, yeah.
Yeah, the 3rd of September, simply.
Yeah.
It's Labor Day. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Fair enough. But no. That's a full-on work day.
Well, I'm still recording this, Jackie. So, when you get a chance, you can finish up watching whatever he finishes with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds really great. Thank you for all of this.
You're welcome.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited about the webinar. I think it's gonna be awesome.
Absolutely. It will.
Great.
So yeah, good night. And
I'll talk to you
Good night.
later.
yeah, absolutely.
Bye bye.
We're getting pretty close anyway, right? You're
Yeah,
one or
I
two.
think so.
Yeah, this is great
Right.
stuff. Thank you so much.
Simply pause the thread and continue it, yeah?
Yeah.
And so cancel this one and try to cover the other one as well. With the variables sharing, I showed already the object is a bit different. So here, for example, if you want to share an object, the best is, like I said, critical object, but you can do with normal object as well. We can do it like 1, 2, 6. And when we create here the object, we simply need to pass the pointer. Let's put something in there. So it's a text. So we now share the object.
Yeah.
And we can exchange information, whatever. Right, the function is I showed as well. It's also possible to do it with objects. So when you do it like this can be an object class. And class test will have a function. So, nothing more. So when we share it, the object, then you can call it as well. So here we would say run. Here for the AutoHotkey version 1, because it's using sleep, we have to make sure that the one we share the object with, so the main one, has to use set batch lines -1, otherwise it doesn't work.
Huh. That increases the speed of it, right? Or something with that?
Yeah, it doesn't sleep in between.
Oh,
so
okay.
It between the execution it doesn't sleep.
Oh.
It always runs full speed, and then it works. So this is something in V1. Every object which is shared has to use it. So every thread which shares an object has to use it.
Okay.
So here for the classes and objects is the same. Calling them is quite good. So then we have the critical section. Actually, it's critical object. I wouldn't cover this critical section. It's too complex. And then the structures part. So structures is something really need to read about on the internet. It's very simple in itself. So it's just a part of memory. Yeah, it's nothing more. But the structure is defining the memory. So in software, this is not really helpful.
Yeah.
Data? No. No, we don't structure C++. Here's a good tutorial to understand it. So itself, the structure is just a part of memory, but the definition of this memory is the problem with structure, or the difficult part. So when we look for some structures, so for example, the left, right, and left, it's left, top, right, and bottom. This is, I don't remember what this one's called. So we find like this structure. Don't get in my head what it was. It's simply one is a point structure and a rect structure. Yeah, rect. So this one simply defines 4 longs, which have coordinates in them. Very often used by window and pixels and everything. So when you position a window, for example, then you use it. So if we go to here, so a lot of this stuff is really low, very for advanced user. So we move, for example, whenever you work with this Windows API, you will need a lot of the structures.
Mm-hmm.
It's called move window. Okay. So here it's easy. It's already a parameter list. But a lot of functions don't use a parameter, so they use pointer to structure.
And the structure is just predefined, like you had that left, right, up, down, or whatever the order was.
Yeah, the structure itself is just this memory with these coordinates.
Okay.
But to handle this memory, you need a definition of the structure. And they all have like uint here, left, right, top, and here so rc left, and you can then read what rc left has cut. So it's similar to an object, but it's defining the structure very clearly, so it's not the object actually like it's in AutoHotkey, it's using the memory. So when you read the memory here with numget, you will receive this number. You know, instead of using all this varset capacity and stuff around it, you simply use structure like it's in C++. I need to have a look on some examples. I mean, I can do for the structures for sure. The one I have test script. I don't know if I have it here. If it's still up to date, probably I exclude. This is the AHK structure. Probably would show the one from the version 2 because it's more up to date and I have examples there.
Okay.
Where's the example? Yeah. We can go through few of them, though not too many, because this is a bit more complex.
Yeah, this is getting, for me at least, over my head.
Exactly,
I've seen references to them, and I've just never understood what they were.
Mm-hmm. So here, for example, the first one example is simply saving characters. So first one has 2 characters, and the second is just the code. So you have like 4 slots. First 2 have a letter, and the second 2 have a number.
Okay, all right.
And here I save in the first one the A,
all right,
and the second B, and then the code for it, just as examples, so nothing special. And there you see what it gets from. And it's actually have setting the memory like this. The second one.
A speed benefit for that? That's, I mean, why is that used instead of just using a regular object?
Because it's what the MSDN requires.
Okay, all right.
So most of the functions which will require structures, they will need it.
Okay.
You won't get around it. And normally, like in AutoHotkey, normally you would do. And
to clarify, take a step back, but I think it's starting to form in my brain now. The reference you put in, whether I don't know if it's a DLL call or what, but when you need to use it, it's actually a reference to the memory where the structure is. It's not the.
Correct.
Okay, and that's why you have to have it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So normally in AutoHotkey you do this varset capacity, and then use the num put and num get functions to modify memory.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just another way to make it a lot simpler and more effective. So let's have a look at second example probably that's enough. So here we just have a string with 26 characters.
Yep.
And I've just put in here characters, and
To
we
iterate
can
over. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
look what it is. So here we have B, D, F, and here's the full alphabet.
Cool.
Yeah. And this is to use with a lot of functions from MSDN. Good. And we are through, so the compiling stuff is in before. And there will be a lot of questions probably, but we can go through them.
I don't remember. Have you seen any of the webinars?
No.
So it's there will be questions, but often it's a lot of it's quiet too, right? It's eerily quiet because I think just for a lot of people it's over their head, right? It's a lot of information, but I know we've been mentioning to people that this next webinar is going to be on this, and I think I'm hoping a lot of people will be excited and interested. And I know there's a couple people I've told they're like, oh, I'm looking forward to it. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll be there and you'll have some questions. But
yeah,
we view because often people can't attend it live, right? So we view the vast majority. We'll get like around 10 to 20 people. It depends on the topic and what time of year it is to attend. But you'll see later, they get hundreds of watches, right? And that's where the real benefit is that we have it recorded and people can go back and learn from it later.
Okay. Great.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. This is great.
You're welcome.
I'm definitely going to be the one that uses that second approach on the password, that you showed us. I'm like, I still might try to go the other way at some point, but that second way for my purposes, that is more than enough. So,
yeah,
but very cool.
Great.
Well, thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to. Let's, if you can, like on the day of the webinar, 15 minutes or so before the webinar, if you can log in and we'll catch up or something.
Yes, sure. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you again so much. I'm excited.
You're welcome.
All right. Have a great
day off.
I will. Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Thank you.